What's up out there, YouTube? This is James coming back at you with another informative video. I hope you guys are doing well out there on this beautiful Thursday. I'm doing pretty good myself. That right there was a hate crime. If there ever was a hate crime that you could see, happening in real time, where you had this coward by the name of Jonathan Falco, well, however way you pronounce this little pig head inbred looking thing that's on the camera right here, upper right hand corner, actually take his rifle and shoot at his neighbor because they lived in the same apartment complex or gated community, whatever. And obviously he had been watching Jarvis McKinney, in the morning, because I guess Jarvis McKinney would get up, go for a morning jog before, he goes to work. But that particular morning on July 17th, he was waiting, for a ride to work after he went for his jog. And that's when you seen this pig head right here, take his rifle and actually shoot at Jarvis McKenzie, just like that. Keep running, boy. White gunman targets black jogger while racial slur and rifle exposing legal loophole in South Carolina. All right. That legal loophole they got in South Carolina is that South Carolina does not have a hate crime bill. Okay. That's what that all boils down to. And that is a problem, because in that way, this Jonathan Falco here can't be charged with a hate crime from what he did. And it was obvious a hate crime, somebody minding their business, and then you get a cowardly racist that sits in the safety of his own car, takes his rifle and shoot at somebody of a different color, as the brother was, Jarvis McKenzie, you see, that had never done anything to this man. It was based on race and discrimination and hate. So that makes it a hate crime as far as I'm concerned. But let's get into this article right here. Dive in a little deeper. And it says a trigger warning. The article mentions details about racial discrimination and violence. And goes on to say racial discrimination is not something new around the globe. And in a country like America, it's rooted deep within the system. Even today, after many, many years of protests, movements, and laws. Back on July 17th in South Carolina, a black man who survived a hate crime motivated shooting is calling on the state to pass a long overdue hate crime law following a shocking attack that left him heartbroken and shocked. Okay, Jarvis McKenzie was waiting for his early morning ride to work while jogging when he was suddenly targeted around 6 a.m. A white man, later identified as Jonathan Falco, allegedly drove up, pointed a rifle at him, and fired, all while shouting, "Keep running, boy." Okay? We're going to throw that word allegedly out the window, okay? Because we seen that happen on video footage, okay? We seen the rifle and everything. Matter of fact, you go over here, I even got it in the thumbnail where I'm pointing out the rifle right here on the dashboard, okay? So we're going to throw that out of the way as far as alleged. They get me with that. Especially after you see them commit the crime on camera, okay? Let's continue. As per Atlantic Star, footage captured Falco parking near a gated community, spotting McKenzie and firing a single shot. Falco was arrested and charged with assault, hate, intimidation, possession of a weapon during a violent crime, and assault and battery of a high and aggravated nature. According to police reports, Falco confessed his intentions during questioning. It was a black man in a white shirt. I saw him there and he was by himself. I was going to shoot at him, he reportedly told investigators. Meanwhile, for Jarvis McKenzie, the victim is reportedly suffering from the aftermath of the shocking event and is completely traumatized by it. And of course, why wouldn't he be? You know what I mean? It's not a nice thing to hear bullets whiz by your head, okay? to continue here, it's heartbreaking. I feel like I'm being watched or followed every time I step outside, he said. That day changed everything, McKenzie said. Consequently, he and Falco lived in the same gated neighborhood for over a year. McKenzie stood at the entrance each morning at 5:30 a.m. to wait for a carpool ride. So see, this coward sub was watching him. See, this is what I'm saying. People out there, you got to be aware of your surroundings and be watching out to see who's watching you when you step outside your house. You see what I'm saying? That's just what it is. Now, here somebody wrote at the Hurricane Do. He said, OG Barbie Johnson, Jonathan Falco was arrested July 24th, 2025, charged with assault, battery, weapon possessions during violent crime. And Richland County's hate, intimidation, and ordinance. First such charge. Bond set at $1 million, cash plus $100,087.50 on July 25th. As of July 27th, the case is ongoing with no whatever. Now I clicked on that and it just goes into some other stuff, but we got everything we need right here. Now, I expose racists and pedos. Okay, hate crime and racist white man shoots at a black jogger for no apparent reason and calls him a racial slur. South Carolina SC. Columbia SC, South Carolina, that is. According to police, Jonathan Falco just saw a black man running in the neighborhood and said, I'm going to shoot him simply because he's black. Now, here's what I'm saying about these cowards. Now, you can tell he's an inbred coward. He's sitting up on his ass in that car, you know what I mean, from a good distance away with his rifle. This was planned. This was planned right here. You see what I mean? Premeditated. They should lock his ass up for the rest of his life because he's a danger to society. Okay, he's a racist. He's a danger, and that's just what it is. But before they do, they need to let the brother Jonathan McKenzie, not Jonathan McKenzie, but Jarvis McKenzie, excuse me, let him have a go with his ass and see how brave he be then. See, I know these types. I know these types. I've dealt with them. I know what they're about. You see what I'm saying? See, they are a problem. They are white identity racist extremists. Okay? Now, with that being said, let's move on. However, after the shooting, the same weight now feels like one with extreme anxiety as he chooses to speak to the media about it. Furthermore, this particular case adds to numerous hate-related crimes in the state, which highlights the lack of proper hate crime laws despite multiple failed attempts to pass legislations in the General Assembly. Why do you guys think that they're failing to pass these laws? I can tell you why. Because they want these kind of laws to continue. You see, I mean these crimes, not laws, but they want these crimes to continue. You see, this is the reason why they don't want to pass these laws and want to act like it's so much red tape and it's hard to pass these laws because of this and because of that. And it's all BS. That's all it boils down to. You know, but something's got to be done. But in the meantime, in between time, if you stand vigilant and watch yourself, if you get a racist, low life that want to throw a bullet at you, you have your thing, you throw one back. You know, throw a few back. You see what I'm saying? That helps in situations like this. It's a balance of power. An animal only understands the same aggression, even more aggression, that he directs towards you. If you give that same aggression or more back to him, that's the only way that you can make him understand you ain't to be messed with. Okay? That's what it all boils down to. Right? Now, it goes on to say here, let me see right here. South Carolina, one of two states without hate crime laws, is facing a pivotal moment as lawmaker at Wendell Gilliard pushes for the Clemente C. Pinckney Act, Hate Crime Act, named after a victim of the 2015 Mother Emanuel shooting The act aims to address the lack of legislation in the state. Gillard emphasized the failure of the political system to protect citizens and warns of potential future tragedies. And it says, click the link in our bio to read the full article. Now we can do that today. But okay, like now we had Trump pretending like he was going to send the troops into Chicago to get crime under order, which he pulled out. You know, they made like they was going and they was running tanks and on train tracks and flying all kinds of helicopters and what have you there, you know, along with National Guard troops even pulling up. But the thing is, I guess Chicago, Pritzker and them, they all had their way, say, because they didn't want it. So then they pulled out and went to Memphis. We're supposed to be going to Memphis. Okay, what about things like this? You know, it's crime too. It's the same thing, is it not? Okay, let's continue. Calls for legislation first intensified in 2015 after white supremacist Dylann Roof murdered 9 black churchgoers at Emmanuel AMC Church in Charleston. The attempts were again made in 2021 after the racial reckoning of 2020, but the measure has since been stopped in the Senate. But even after such a long time, nothing has changed. A proper bill for hate crimes would let abusers like Jonathan Falkel pay the price for their deeds. Okay? See, when you lose faith in the judicial system simply because it's not representing the law as it's supposed to be upheld, and then if you go and take the law in your own hands as a citizen, then they'll say you're a vigilante. But you're not doing your job. What else left to do? You see? Let's continue. South Carolina is one of 2 states, along with Wyoming, that don't have their own hate crime laws. Attorney Tyler Bailey, who is representing McKenzie, said the current lack of a state law gives the abusers and assailants a better chance to continue committing crimes and making the lives of innocent people like his clients difficult. Okay? I agree with that. And you got this pig head, little dried up, wet piece of bread right here behind bars. You know what I'm saying? Turn him loose in general population with some so-called blacks are. Okay? Let him go there. Let him sit up there for a while. So you see how tough he is. He don't have his rifle. He ain't in his car, far away, you know, be able to talk shit and shoot guns at somebody. You know what I mean? You know how they do. Here in conclusion, though, it says here, talking to the outlet, Bailey quoted, "It tells racists that if they want to commit hate crimes, they can do it here with minimal consequences. A proper hate crime bill would allow prosecutors to seek extended penalties in racial and gender-related cases, including extended prison time for the accused. Meanwhile, Jonathan Falkel, who is now detained, could face up to 20 years in prison if convicted on all charges." McKenzie and his legal team continue urging lawmakers to act before another case hits the headlines and new panic unfold. Okay? Well, yeah, they need to, but the thing is, in between time and meantime, for other people that's out there, like the brother that was minding his business, before you become a victim, just be vigilant and be ready to defend yourself. You see, be ready to protect yourself at all times from racist, inbred criminals that think that they have the right to do something like this to you. Okay? That's the best advice I can give you. Because these people, they have no right to do things like this. They really don't. You know, you keep your hate to yourself. You know, you can hate whoever you want to hate. But when you start acting on your hate and putting your show on the road, it's time to distinguish your hate. You know, distinguish. You know what I mean? Get rid of it. Abolish it. That's the best that you can do. That's all I got on this one, people. I want you guys to tell me what you think about this particular article right here. I'm interested in hearing your thoughts on it. Make sure to like, share, and subscribe, people. Please remember to live your life as though we're being watched. Simply because we are. This is James, and I'm out. Peace.